Welcome to the KTPF Reload Show. In case you're wondering what the Reload Show is about, if you haven't heard previous shows, these are the interviews that were conducted by good friends of mine, Steve and Sue Taggart, in the days of the KTPF radio show. Their own radio show ran for just over 4 years, broadcasting every week for over 3 hours. I joined them in the last 18 months of the show's run, but eventually the guys felt they'd just about had enough. It was a monumental effort to keep broadcasting every week for 3 hours. It was a wonderful show. But unfortunately they're no longer involved, and the shows have just sort of sat in the archives, so I thought it would be nice to bring them back to life and bring you the interviews that the guys conducted over those 4 years. They include some of the most interesting people within the world of the paranormal, and some not so well known, but still, nevertheless still very interesting. We even have 1 or 2 rather unusual shows, including a live seance and other things along those lines. Anyway, hopefully you enjoy tonight's show, and this is the KTPF Reload Show. Enjoy.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, good evening everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KTPF Community Talk Show. My name's Suzanne.
I'm Steve.
And tonight we are talking about the Bermuda Triangle. This is a region of the west part of the North Atlantic Ocean in which ships, planes and people are alleged to have mysteriously vanished. It's been quite popular for quite a few years now, and basically back in the days of Columbus, it started to be reported that even Columbus himself reported strange lights and strange compass readings when he was in the area back in 1492. In 1609, the Sea Venture got wrecked during the first attempt to colonize Bermuda. But between 1945 and 2008, 129 planes have disappeared. That's just 2 a year, working on a percentage. Despite hundreds of planes, ships and pleasure craft that go through the triangle. So why does it affect some and not others? Well, tonight we are going to talk to a young lady, Cary Trantham. We're going to talk about her experience of the Bermuda Triangle that she did when she flew through the Bermuda Triangle in 1995. It's a very interesting story, isn't it, Steve?
It is indeed.
So yes, so we'll be talking about that, but we'll also be asking her about the latest report. We had it in the Daily Mail back in February that as far as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are concerned, it's official. The Bermuda Triangle is a myth. Yes,
the US Navy doesn't recognise it, and insurance companies don't charge you any more for going through it.
No.
So they don't recognise it either.
And they're basically saying that it's down to the weather conditions that happen during the time, and they're saying it's just down to the weather conditions, the foul weather, the poor navigation involved. So are they saying it's down to the people that's doing this?
That and Mother Nature, yes.
Yeah.
I have a few things that could have caused disappearances here.
Okay.
The first lot is mainly for shipping. It's a very deep area, deep trench there, and they're saying deep trench and whirlpools can cause the ships to be sucked into whirlpool and sunk. Methane gas.
Yes.
And they've proven it in tanks with small models and things that a bubble of methane gas can actually sink a ship. Pirates, of course.
Okay.
There's rogue waves. They are actually recognised now. Even these space stations have noticed waves up to 95 feet high.
95 feet high?
And these are not tsunamis, these are waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's water spouts, tornadoes, cyclones and hurricanes, of course. And if you want to go from a supernatural version, How about this one then?
Go on then, talk to me.
Edgar Coy's Giant Crystal of Atlantis.
Okay.
He's reading of the Bermuda Triangle, told about a huge laser crystal that was a powerful weapon that was also used as guiding energy source for Atlantean aircraft. Coy said the crystal was submerged underneath the water of the Bermuda Triangle. He stated that on clear days when the water was calm and the sunlight hit the crystal and activated it, the crystal's being disrupted electronic equipment and was responsible for the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle.
I see. So it is a mysterious place. Even Barry Manilow sung about it.
Excuse me, yes, he did indeed. But how about this one?
Okay.
UFOs and USOs.
USOs.
Yes.
Unflying submarine objects, is it? Submersed objects.
You got it. I see this bit says about Christopher Columbus seeing the strange lights on the horizon, and referred to the Bermuda Triangle. He later saw a round glowing object submerged into the ocean. In addition, Columbus reported how on 2 occasions the compass reading was northwest at night, and by daybreak it corrected itself to align with the North Star. There are similar stories about UFOs and USOs, unidentified submerged objects, within the Bermuda Triangle. Some theorize that UFOs are using vortexes and wormholes to enter and exit our world, and somehow ships and planes also go through these passages.
Hi, Cary.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, that's fine. I can't. You can't see me at the moment because I'm saving bandwidth just in case it goes wrong. Okay, but I'm seeing you and hearing you perfectly. Okay.
Good.
Right. So Cary Trantham, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
Yes. Now, you are a survivor, basically, of the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, that's kind of what they think. And
so, what do you think?
Well, I definitely survived.
Right. Okay.
And I'm very thankful for that. It was a very, very scary experience.
Yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to take us through it? Tell us how, what happened and everything.
Well, it was a flight up to Daytona Beach to see my daughter, and it's a flight that I had flown several times. And I was living in the Florida Keys at that time, and it started out fine. And what's interesting is that one of the pilots that I was flying out of the Key West Naval Air Station, I was belonged to up there, and one of the big jet fighter pilots told me once that there's a dead airspace between the Florida Keys and the mainland, and I had always, every time I flew, I always thought about that conversation that we had. And he says, well, don't worry about it, just keep flying or climb a little higher, and you'll make radio contacts, so nothing to be worried about. And I always thought that was kind of strange, a dead airspace. What the heck is that? So, but anyway, I was flying up to see my daughter, and I landed in Norman Beach. We went shopping, and I did everything I needed to do by filing a flight plan and everything else to go back to the Keys. And I was flying. I had to change my flight plan because there was some stormy weather moving in a front coming into Florida. So I had to change my flight plan from the way I flew, because I flew directly across the Gulf to Naples and then across Florida to the coastline and then up to Ormond. I was doing my thing, and I noticed it was getting. I was ahead of the storm. I wasn't worried about that, and it was way behind me. And I was flying along, and then all of a sudden it was just like something. Somebody threw a blanket over my airplane. It was like totally in the dark. My instruments, went crazy. I lost my horizon. I just felt like I lost control.
Yeah.
And then all my flight training kicked in, and it was either get control of this airplane or end up in the Gulf and never survive. And it was, like I said, it was a really, really scary experience. I only actually told 2 people about it afterwards, and the one being the commander that was in charge of the flying club, and he was upset because I left the airplane with almost no gas, which is like, what happened to me up there, that I used up more gas than I anticipated. Yeah. And so I kind of explained to him that I had a situation, and of course he gave me a lecture, and then a couple of days later I felt like I needed to get back in an airplane, otherwise I would never fly again. I mean, it was that detrimental and that scary to me. And when I was out there, a pilot that I was close to, I told them about what had happened, and because I wasn't really sure what happened, but it was just one of those situations where you felt like you didn't want to really tell anybody, because it was like, did I do something wrong, or what happened to me, or would anybody ever even believe me, type of situation. But and then years later I was having issues because I kept thinking about it, and my husband told me, he says, maybe you need to write it down. So sometimes getting it out on paper gets it out of your system. So that's what I did. And then next thing I knew, it was suggested that I submit it for publication, and I did, and it was published. So that's about it.
And that's your book, isn't it? Which is called, what's it called?
The magazine that it was published in?
No, yeah, but you've written a book, haven't you?
Oh, yes, I have. It's actually a novel. It's the Bermuda Triangle Pathway to Atlantis. And after my article was published, I was on several documentaries, and I heard all these theories about what causes the Bermuda Triangle. So I got to thinking about it, and it's like, and I'm a big fan of the Science Channel and the quantum, the theory of quantum physics. Once it was discovered, it just like blows your mind. It's like makes almost everything possible, and the fact that scientists have now proven, I guess, in the science labs, that there's 10 dimensions, which totally changes a lot of the way we live. I mean, or the way I think, anyway. And so my book is basically on the fact that what happens in the Bermuda Triangle, the disappearances, is that they're going over into a parallel universe. And I know people say, "Oh my God," but I think it's totally possible. Yeah. Now I've been told that maybe there's a magnetic fog there, and that's what happened to me. That I flew into a magnetic fog, or the magnetic fog flew into me, whatever. And that's another possibility, I think, of what's going on there. Because in researching my book, The Bermuda Triangle Pathway to Atlantis, I looked up the magnetic force that covers our planet, and it's just freaking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe also within the Bermuda Triangle, you're right there. your true north becomes a magnetic. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
Have you got the show on as well? Because we can.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, can you mute your speakers your end as long as you can hear me?
Yes, I can. I apologize.
That's all right.
I was having a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah, because we're getting the feedback, you see. I'm hearing myself again.
Okay. Well,
where you are.
There.
That's fine. No,
I was having a little bit of an issue here listening to you, so.
I believe at the end of the day, when you're in the Bermuda Triangle, there's a difference between true north and magnetic north. Am I correct?
Yes. Well, that's flying. There's always a difference between the magnetic north, and you're always having to adjust your compass. That's But and then there's there's been discussions about the north and south poles switching. Yeah. So I did some research on that too. But there's I get a lot of email, and I got an email this morning from a young man in Pakistan, and he is studying civil engineering, and he says I've studied nature, and of course he thinks that the Bermuda Triangle is because of the magnetic forces, that is another planet that's taking him. I'll read you what he said, which is kind of interesting. You know.
It's all right. She keeps dropping out a bit.
Have we lost her?
Yeah.
So it's a big distance from you.
Cary, if you can hear me, can you turn your camera off? She's died on me. Oh, she's gone. She's gone.
We will get her back, don't worry.
We will get her back. Don't forget, if you have problems,
are we back?
Friend.
Yep.
Hi. Yeah, if you leave your camera off, it will be okay with the bandwidth.
I'm sorry.
Skype can be a bit finicky. If you have your camera on, sometimes it uses too much bandwidth, and therefore it cuts out. So if you leave the camera off, it should be fine.
Okay.
Okay. So you were telling me what this young lad said.
Well, it was I just feel like I can't turn my video off. I guess I'm off, though.
Yeah, you are off.
Yeah. I just consider myself a believer. That means I believe in everything. Until somebody absolutely proves that it doesn't exist, it exists. Because, and we, as far as nobody has actually proven that there's no such thing as a ghost.
No, this is.
And there's no such thing as time travel. Nobody's proven that we can't travel through time. In fact, I've been reading a lot about time travel and time. Even Einstein says that the way we consider time is based on our movement through the universe. There's really no such thing as time. And sometimes time, past and present and future, can kind of blend together, especially when you get into other dimensions.
Right. Just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to make the trip to your daughters, and how long did it take you to get back?
It's about a 3.5-hour trip to get there, depending on the wind. Coming back, it took me probably 2 hours longer, I'm thinking, because it got dark on me, and I had to fly my last leg in the dark. But I really lost time. I was just so shocked, in shock, and I just lost it.
Yeah. Did you actually see anything apart from this blackness?
No, I did not. I get that asked a lot. It's like, like I said, I get a lot of email.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are young students from the 6th grade up. And it's interesting what they say, about my experience and their questions that they ask, But no, I didn't see anything. And that, of course, to me, that was what was scary.
That's really terrifying,
Yeah.
isn't it?
We've got Chris and Emma in. Did you want to ask a question?
Hi, Cary.
We've got one there from front of her.
Yeah.
Hello there. Hi there, Cary. Can you hear me?
Can you hear Chris?
Hello.
Did he ask? I couldn't hear his question.
Right.
Hello there. Hi, Cary. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm not too bad at all. Well, my name's Chris, and it must have been a very, very, very scary experience. Obviously, you're flying, over places, and it's completely black, and you can't see anything whatsoever. Maybe navigational systems are malfunctioning and things like that when you're flying at altitudes in an aircraft. So I can understand the anxieties. And the fear, that you must have, you incorporated, and I can certainly understand carrying these with you from that day, maybe to this day. Obviously, if you still suffer from these things, but would you ever consider flying? Would you fly back over that in that same area again?
Well, that's a common question, and yes, I have. I did actually. The first time I went back over there was with the Discovery Channel and their pilot. We went over the same area, and I did by myself again, but I no longer at night.
Yeah.
Not by myself if I had a chance, but if I had a choice, rather, not a chance, but if I had a choice. Okay. But it was a scary experience, and I was thinking about that today when I was thinking about this interview. Is that it's something that even when I think about it now, my heart beats and my stomach turns over and it actually it did a lot of changes for me. It changed my it made me more open to possibilities, I think, in my life.
Yeah.
And it made me more it affected me emotionally in the fact that I felt more thankful for life, Yeah. I think anybody that has a life-death experience where they feel like they're not going to, survive it, have that feeling that, yes,
So
it's good to wake up in the morning,
So do you feel more because of the encounter, obviously the experience has sort of given you that bit more guidance, that enlightenment. So you obviously, like you just said, you see things in a different way now, or so do you think it's added to your enlightenment and sort of helped develop you further onto to the person that you've become today?
Absolutely. I think that I don't know if I was actually enlightened, but it's made me more aware of how precious life is and how awesome our planet is, and about all the mysteries. I mean, I just look out here over my patio. I live in Keep the Paranormal. My view is awesome, and I hear the animals and the experiences I have with the hummingbirds. They come looking for me if they get hungry. I mean, life is just fascinating, and what we experience is just fascinating. And in fact, I have a friend that said that he has a friend that says that Earth is actually the vacation spot for aliens. I thought that was fun.
That's a very good concept. It's a very good concept. Yeah.
Well, we're gorgeous and beautiful, and in fact, I saw this video and I put it on my Facebook page because it was so awesome, and it's basically based on the fact of the overview effect. And the overview effect is like the astronauts that left the planet, when they were heading to the moon, their main goal was the moon, and that's what they were looking at. And then all of a sudden they turn around and look at the planet Earth behind them, and it affected several of them, spiritually, because here's this planet that's absolutely blue and gorgeous and hanging in the sky, and I can see where aliens would think of it as a vacation place.
It's certainly a shame where we have to go through things or experience things to appreciate the planet and things that we've got around us that we take for granted on an everyday basis, don't we? We get up in the morning, we're breathing, we're breathing air, we can communicate, we're alive, we feel the warmth from the sun on our faces and on our bodies, and like you say, the animals, the birds and everything just, living around, and the general consensus of life itself. And we often walk around blind with our eyes closed and oblivious to the fact, and we just don't appreciate it enough. And maybe sometimes people do have incorporate experiences, like people have near-death scenarios and experiences on that level, and when they sort of come back and they have a newfound sense of being with life around in general, but very much to, as you've just been saying yourself there, when with the birds humming and everything like that. It's just a shame that we have to go through these things, and maybe sometimes we're designed to go through certain experiences depending on what them experiences are, but maybe we're designed to go through them to open our eyes to such, maybe.
I think so. I think a lot of people have the problem that they live in a box and they're afraid to step out of this box. But I think, I've told many people this, that I think that after my experience, I'm open. I'm open for, and I think when you open yourself up, then things do happen to you. Fun, wonderful things, wonderful experiences. I definitely believe in paranormal, but I also believe that that everything that we consider or discuss as paranormal is a mystery, and a mystery at some point there's a reason for the mystery, and there will be a science. I don't like to use the word scientific, but there is an explanation. I think that, like time travel, I think at some point we're going to find out that there really is a simple reason where I could just think myself and all of a sudden I'm in New York City.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think that there is a way to do it. We just don't know what it is to transport ourselves. And the explanation will be something really simple. It's like the scientists are going to just hit their heads and say, "Oh my God, we should have known that." You know,
that's it.
And we can change our particles and change our or whatever and transport just like that.
So I know you like
I said, I'm a believer, and I think that everything that we've, you know, what's interesting is that we actually live in a Star Trek world now.
I love Star Trek, but we do. I mean, I know you had a harrowing experience, a terrifying experience, and obviously one that's going to stay with you, you know, for maybe possibly the rest of your life. It's something that you're not going to forget in a hurry, you know. And you know, and it's fantastic that obviously you managed to get back safely, and that you are where you are today, and you got back safely, you know, and all that's behind you. But putting that the bad side of that behind you, and knowing what you know now, and how we seem to more appreciate things, would you say that would you say that you're glad today that you actually had that experience, or was it something that you think you wish you still never had that experience, knowing that you've come through that safely, and hopefully it'll never happen again? But would you say, you know, are you glad that you actually had that opportunity to experience the what you actually did?
Well, yes, sometimes you wonder, it's like, why do things happen to you that happens to you? Is there a destiny, or was that, you know, I had an interesting phone call from a couple who are actually, I think he's 81 and she's 76, and they wrote a book, and they wrote it anonymously because during the Korean War, they were underwater photographers and did documentaries, but that was their surveillance or whatever you call it. They were actually spies, and he's a little bit on the psychic side, I guess. He had a life-death experience, and he woke up being a little bit psychic, and so they were asking me, it's like, and they found my book, and they were saying, "Cary, when you were writing this, do you find that is it just your imagination, or is this coming from someplace else?" Because he felt that when he had his life-death experience, that the tunnel never really closed for him. So in his writing, he feels like it's coming from someplace else other than his own, you know, imagination. And I thought that was really, really interesting, because I thought about that, and I never, I had a life-death experience, and so when I was 24 and I had a car wreck and my heart stopped 3 times, and I just wonder, and it got me thinking, it's like, I wonder if maybe this opened me up to, you know, like the Bermuda Triangle experience or whatever, but what is this happening? And sometimes I wonder, you know, where my thoughts do come from. You know, is it just my imagination, or is there another funneling into my mind? You know, the other night I woke up in the middle of the night, and a name. It was a very strange name. It was Robert, and it was like the very strange last name. And I kept spelling that name, and I don't know anybody by that name. And it's like, where in the world did that come from? So their conversation was really, really interesting. And we talked for well over an hour, and they're in the States, and I was down here. So I plan on catching up with him when I'm in the States. But what do you think? Do you think that there's a possibility that, you know, some of our thoughts are not really coming from our own minds, but someplace else?
We've got some questions for you from the chat room, Cary. First of all, JW wants to know, how did your friends and family react when you told them?
Actually, I didn't tell them.
No. Okay.
In fact, my husband complained because I was married to him for 3 years before I ever told him about the experience, and I was having problems with nightmares, and and that's when it was suggested that maybe I write it down. You know, 'cause sometimes when you got things, you know, that are on your mind constantly, it's easy to, you know, just putting them down on paper kind of gets them out of your system. So, but yeah, he was a little upset that I hadn't told him until after 3 years of marriage.
Okay. And Andy wants to know, was you supposed to be where you was? When you were flying, and you was 2 hours more than what you should have been flying, so to speak, because you took a different route, didn't you? Yeah.
I did take a different route, but because I didn't fly, I was flying the coastline, so
yeah,
that would have taken me a little bit longer to fly that way.
Right.
That's the way I went, because the way I left, I flew from Key West straight north to Naples and across.
Yeah.
So I was flying across the Gulf.
So basically, Andy's question is, were you supposed to be there, or did you end up miles from nowhere when it blacked out?
No, I was supposed to be there. I was doing my flight plan.
Okay.
But when everything went black on me, the thing is that you lose your, oh crap, what's the word for it? Anyway, I wasn't sure if I was upside down or right side up.
Right.
And then I wasn't sure if I had floated, you know, east or west, or where I just lost where I was. And of course, back then, maybe if I'd had a GPS, that might have been different. But at that time, we didn't have GPSs, or at least not for little airplanes.
What he wants to know, what makes you think that you didn't black out during flight?
Well, that's a good question. I did a talk not too long ago, and I was asked that if maybe I had a blackout, and I honestly don't know.
Right.
I couldn't tell you
If
I blacked out or not.
Wouldn't the plane have crashed if you'd have blacked out? Because it wasn't on auto, was it?
No, the plane wasn't on auto, so wouldn't the plane have crashed if you blacked out?
Well, it's amazing how amazing small airplanes are. They're built to glide, and it depends on how long I was blacked out, actually. But I don't think I was. I think I was just in a state of shock because I was so intent. I think thinking back, it's like I was thrown into a survival mode, and where the adrenaline was flowing. And you know, you always hear strange things about that happening to people, where people lifting up cars off of other people, you know, to save a life or whatever. It's amazing what our bodies and our minds can do when that adrenaline is flowing. And like I said, I kind of liked my existence, and I think I was just trying to survive. I didn't want to die.
No.
Oh.
He goes on to ask, have you ever tried hypnosis to retrieve the memory of that time? And if not, would you consider it? Obviously at the time you're panicking and what have you, aren't you?
I have done hypnosis. I was very much into hypnosis, and I think hypnosis is an amazing way to get into a meditative state and to explore your subconscious mind. I never really addressed my experience, and you know, I never really wanted to. I don't know why, whether I was just afraid or what, but I've had some other interesting experiences under hypnosis, finding my inner guide and this sort of thing, and which is another situation. It's like, where in the world did that come from? Is that in my imagination, or is there another dimension going on with all of us? But that's, like I said, I'm very active with hypnosis. I have been in the past, and I never wanted, and I never asked anybody to take me back.
No. I suppose it's something you wouldn't like to go back to anyway, really.
No, I really, you know, there's a, yeah,
So, but well, you survived, obviously.
Yes, I did.
Which is good.
Yes.
Otherwise, you'll just prove to us that ghosts do exist. But you know, as I say, do you feel, even though you got back on the bike, so to speak, do you sometimes feel when you're flying a little bit edgy at all now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't fly at night at all.
No.
Yeah.
Do you ever cross
and I don't like to fly by myself. I'd rather have a co-pilot there with me.
Do you cross the Bermuda Triangle at all?
Pardon?
Have you ever crossed the Bermuda Triangle since?
Yes, I it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah.
When you live in Florida.
There's a theory that obviously it doesn't happen to everyone. What makes you think that?
Well, I don't know. You know, like I said, I talk to a lot of, or I correspond with a lot of, especially students, you know, and a few adults about the Bermuda Triangle. Mm-hmm. And for one thing, and there's another gentleman, Gian Kesar, who has written some books on the Bermuda Triangle, and he's on my Facebook. So he's talking about getting back into another book about, or more, and I asked him, I says, do you think it's changed? Or I emailed him, or Facebooked him rather, and I says, do you think it's changed over the past 50 years? You know, and he said, he didn't give me a really good answer, but he said that yes, it is changing. And for one thing, it's like the Bermuda Triangle doesn't have specific borders.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I
know that it moves just like anything else is going to move on this planet, and it fluctuates. And I definitely think that there's something there. You know, I'm asked that a lot. Do you really believe this, or is it a hoax, or what? And I said no, because too many big things have happened, and there's absolutely no clue as to where it is. And it's kind of like, you know, I keep wanting them to find Flight 370.
Yeah.
You know, not only for the family, but just for closure. It's just like, and not having these closures causes a mystery, and it's very scary. It's not really scary, but it's very strange that things are happening, and why you know, you ask me, it's like, why doesn't everybody have this experience? It's amazing on the different shows I was on. It's amazing how many people have things happen to them in that area and don't talk about it, or don't say it. You know, like this one pilot that was flying me in the Discovery Channel, he was saying that he was flying between Puerto Rico and Miami all the time, and one time they had their plane on automatic pilot, and it kept swerving off of automatic pilot. I mean, there was absolutely no explanation for it.
Yeah. Now,
so there's lots of things that are happening there. It's just that I happen to tell my story. But I think that a lot of people have stories. There's something going on there, whether it's the magnetic forces or who knows.
Yeah. We had an article in one of our newspapers back in February that national oceanic and atmospheric administrations say that the Devil's Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, Island of the Devil, is actually a myth. They're saying it's definitely a myth, that it turns to methane gases and the likes, and Sargasso Sea and Gulf Stream. What's your theory on that?
You know, the government's doing some stuff there too. Somebody was saying there's under water sonar and this sort of thing, and maybe they're just trying to hush up. Yeah. I think that there is something going on, and I know I think it's the organization is an amazing one. But I was up in Florida not too long ago, and there were 29 whales trying to beach themselves in Fort Lauderdale, which is in the Bermuda Triangle. Now, why would 29 whales try to beach themselves? And I think that maybe there's something going on with their sonar. Maybe all of our, you know, who knows? Maybe our GPSs and all this stuff is affecting the sonars of these whales and dolphins, which is a scary thing to say. So, and the jet stream is going through there, and the jet stream has moved actually some with the Earth and everything else, all the stuff that goes on with our weather and everything else. But what do I say? I can't agree. Let's put it that way.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is about your book. Why did you call it Pathway to Atlantis?
Pathway to Atlantis?
Yeah.
I think because we can't find Atlantis. You know, people are searching for Atlantis, and they think that it did exist at some point, a civilization that was maybe even more advanced than we are right now. And so I called it because the Bermuda Triangle is an unstable portal to a parallel world, which is where the city of Atlantis went to. That's my whole concept. I kind of liked it.
Because there is an explanation, I must admit, that Atlantis is in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, in my book, the basis of it is that the people of Atlantis knew that something was going to happen. You know, a big meteorite was going to hit the planet and flood it or whatever. And so they created a parallel universe. They were that far advanced. And I have to, my favorite scientist, can I mention his name?
Yes.
Michio Kaku. In fact, he wrote a book about parallel universes, and they're definitely a possibility, absolutely a possibility. And so why not? If they're that far advanced than we are, maybe they knew how to create a parallel universe, and that's where they went. And that's what happened is that the Bermuda Triangle, people that didn't survive ended up in the parallel universe of Atlantis. It's kind of a fun thought. They didn't die, they just went to
Where are you gone? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, it's all right. You just seem to disappear a bit there. I don't know. Well, I think, is that enough questions we've got in the chat room? There is one I wanted to ask from JW. Have you ever been on the show Unsolved Mysteries?
No. I've been on a couple Discovery channels about the Bermuda Triangle. I've been on the Sci-Fi and the Learning Channel and National Geographic. Those are the ones. I think that you can go to YouTube and watch my little, where they talk to me about it. But no, not on Unsolved Mysteries. They haven't asked me.
No, right, okay. I think somebody thought you might have been on there. So
no,
so
I've been on several, but not on that one.
Right, okay. So one last question. There was nothing that actually knocked you off course during this trip, was there? You was on course all the way, would you say?
Yes, nothing knocked me off. Well, after my little incident, I didn't know where I was. You know, right. So I was knocked off course there. I had to get, I had to contact Miami and finally and ask them to give me my where I was. Tell them, you know, because they had my plane on radar. So they knew where I was. I just didn't know where I was. And I really wanted to go home.
Right, okay. Pardon? You got a mic?
Sorry there. Hi, Cary. Just as a pilot, can I just ask you, is there such things when you're flying your aircraft in the sky, is there such things like air pockets and things like that, and drag that could knock a plane slightly off course? Like if no one's watching it, let's say like driving a car down the road, and sometimes you can hit a pothole or something like that, or a hole in the road, and if you take your hand off the wheel, so obviously the car or the vehicle can veer over. So if you're flying an aircraft and someone's, let's say, not watching it or whatever the case may be, could an aircraft hit an air pocket or a warm pocket of air or something like that, and could slightly change the course of the aircraft?
Very easily you can get off course. It doesn't take a lot, and if you don't have automatic pilot, I was flying an airplane that didn't have anything but a magnetic compass and
Yeah, no,
so it's very easy to get off course. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. And on the subject of autopilots, did your plane have an autopilot?
No.
Right. Do all planes not have an autopilot?
A lot of the small planes don't have autopilot.
Right. Okay. I'm not.
Yeah,
a pilot,
my little
so
airplane didn't. Like I said, it had a magnetic compass and a clock.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously the magnetic field that was in the area, that caused things to go a bit haywire. Just to clarify everything, and it was obviously during the Bermuda Triangle, and it gave you an experience that you'll never forget.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on the show, Cary. Thank you for the questions in the chat room, and for Chris. We're really pleased we've got you on after all this time. Thank you for taking your time to come on. Okay, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you so much, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Cary.
I had to say real quick, I worked with a gentleman from Manchester when I about 20 years ago. I was working in Germany, and he was a hoot.
Was he?
Yeah. He was quite the character, so I'm quite fond of Manchester.
All right, okay. Well, thanks very much. I don't actually come from Manchester, but
I'm from Manchester.
But Chris does.
And I'm a hoot.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually come from down south, so okay, but I live up here anyway. Well, thanks again, Cary. Please enjoy your flights. I hope nothing happens to you again, and every success with your book.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, Cary. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
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 There you go. That was Cary Trantham.
Yes.
And her story, as she remembers it from flying through the part of the Bermuda Triangle. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to call it a day. So until next time, all we can say is
keep the paranormal friendly.
Good night and God bless.
Good night, everyone.
This is where it's at.